overall, it was a great response by our team. Especially having a young team, and sometimes when you win a game like that on the road, you can come back home and you could fall flat on your face. And I thought that we responded really well. We challenged them in practice, knowing that if we didn't come out with the right energy, that which kind of what happened in the Incarnate Word game, that now we're going to be in a dogfight. But I thought our guys really did a good job of executing the game plan. We did a really good job of pressuring them out, which you saw in the first half when we built that lead. We had, we forced 16 turnovers, forced 27 turnovers for the game. And then in games like that, I mean, when you're up 20 at half, I mean, it's as much as you don't want to say it's human nature, sometimes it is, and you have a tendency, not just our players, but other people involved with the game, decide to maybe relax a little bit. And I thought we'll learn from that. And as I told the guys after the game, I'm proud of the fact that winning's hard. Winning college basketball games are hard. And you just beat a Division I team by 22 on your home court, and that is the expectation when you're on your home court in a game like that. But you're going to get, regardless if you're up 20, 25, whether that's in practice, and you're going to get coached every single day. You're going to get held accountable to every single possession. And the guys that buy into that are going to be the guys that are going to win a lot of games. And we're starting to find out who those guys are, who are able to handle the workload that we give them, understand the scouting report, go out, execute the scouting report, and then be able to make adjustments within the game. But I thought overall as a group, we did a really good job of executing the game plan that Coach DeWeese gave us. And then from an offensive standpoint, we started out a little sloppy with some turnovers, knowing that they were going to pack it in. But Marcus Williams really loosened that defense up when they decided that we need to go under on the ball screens and kind of gap them. And his 3-point shooting is not indicative of how well he shoots it. I mean, he made 120-some threes last year during his high school season, and is a guy that puts in a lot of work behind the scenes shooting. And he was in that gym earlier today with Coach Wicks, working on some of those things, knowing that they were probably going to go under on the ball screens. And as soon as he made a few of those threes, now you try to press up on him, and you see what happens. I mean, he just has an unbelievable ability to get by guys and to be able to finish at the rim with both hands. Or now when teams start to suck up or suck in, he can see it and make that easy pass. So good overall effort, and we'll learn from it. There's some things we definitely can learn from and make our way on to Utah Valley on Saturday. Mr. Katz.
Yeah, I know you've talked about, Derek Marks before and the sort of impact that he had, and that Marcus could eventually sort of develop into that sort of player. Are you surprised with how fast Marcus has sort of taken charge?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised just in terms of how well he is scoring at this level. But, I mean, he is, from a talent standpoint, I mean, he's as talented as any guard that I've coached. Just with his ability to, I mean, I've coached, JD was different, like in terms of his athleticism, Dre, Marks, Jonah. But I think in terms of just the ability to kind of have the entire package, you mentioned Derek Marks, but Derek was more of a 2, and Derek didn't see the game like Marcus can see the game. I mean, Marcus can see it at a really high level. And, he does a good job of taking what the game brings him. And as, he gets more possessions under his belt, more games at his belt, he's only going to get better. But, the one thing that he has is he lives the game. I mean, he loves it. He works at it all the time. He's always in watching film. He wants to get better. He wants to be great. He still doesn't know how to be great. But if he just continues to work like he is, I mean, he's going to be a guy that is going to be he's a good player now, but he's going to be a really special player when it's all said and done. Tracy.
When as we watch him, as easy as everything seems to be for him, as comfortable as it is, you were at Northern Colorado, you come to Wyoming. Where do you think you were able to convince him that you were the guy that he needed to play for? I mean, I'm sure he had to have other opportunities, right?
Well, I mean, one, we were just, fortunate enough. I mean, Coach DeWeese identified him, early on. And, we knew, I mean, in terms of how we want to play, I mean, we knew he fit exactly what we want from a guard. And when, kids come on an official visit and, you can show them film of Andre Spite and what he did in his year playing for me, when you see what Jordan Davis did for me, what Jonah Radaball, you don't have to lie to them. And so many of these kids get lied to in recruiting about what their roles are going to be. But he knew that kind of in our situation when we were at Northern Colorado with Radaball leaving, that he was going to step into a situation where the ball was going to be in his hands. And that's what he wanted. And when I took the job here, and he decommitted from UNC, I mean, he could have had, he had a lot of other opportunities. But a lot like when I recruited Damian Lillard at Weber State, Dane was very loyal, and Marcus is very loyal, and his parents are, and he just knew that the type of people that he was, his parents knew the type of people he was going to be surrounded by on a daily basis, and that's what they wanted, and that's what he wanted, and he's had some growing pains. I mean, if you were at our first couple of practices, he's heard it, but he also knows that. If he continues to listen to what we're trying to tell him to do, I mean, he's going to be along the same lines of a guy that, when we're trying to convince somebody else to come play here, this is what Marcus Williams did, and hopefully it'll be a little bit easier sell. Davis.
Jeff, how much was finishing an emphasis at halftime, just given the way the last significant lead you guys had at half went?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's hard. And, we talked about it, and obviously at the Texas Southern game, having been in the same situation before, just want to remind our guys that, it's not about, can you go from 20 to 30? No, it's about, can you win the next possession? Do you play the next possession the right way on both ends of the floor? And if you do that, then the scoreboard takes care of itself. It's not sometimes, you sit there and you go with the momentum and, hey, this is easy. Well, in college basketball with that three-point line, if you don't guard it right, then lo and behold, I mean, they can get back in the game in a hurry. We did a tremendous job defending the three. We knew a big emphasis of ours going into the game was to minimize Jace Townsend's 3 attempts, which we knew, hey, if he can get 20 shooting long, tough, non-paint twos, then so be it. He only had 1 3, which came late in the game, I think under the last 3 minutes. And then Tristan Green was another guy, the focal point of the scouting report, because he's a guy, if you don't guard him right in the pick and roll and handle him in terms of being a guy that really doesn't want to play inside, he only got 1 3-point attempt, and that was a shot that got blocked in the first half from J.O. at the top of the key. And so our goal is to hold teams under 12 or less threes, and that's what they were at. Allowed us to lead the country the last 3 years at Northern Colorado in 3-point field goal attempt defense, and then also allowing them to only hit 4 threes. And we made, except for Lamb, who we knew was in the same boat as those other 2 guys, we didn't want him getting threes, and he got a couple late, those last 3 minutes. But overall, I mean, that first 38 minutes of that game, I think they got about 9 three-point attempts up. Mr. Katz.
You guys led for just over 39 minutes of this one. I mean, is this the most complete effort you've seen start to finish from you guys?
No, I think if you look at the scoreboard, I think in terms of just probably overall discipline, effort, one possession at a time, I think Oregon State, we played better. We're a team that prides ourselves on being an elite defensive rebounding team. And tonight, that was not the case. I think they rebounded over 50% of their missed shots, and we gave up like 16 offensive rebounds. And so that's an area that we really need to clean up. But I do think that in terms of understanding the game plan, and every game's a little bit different. And for us to have the effort to force them into 27 turnovers, and in fairness to Coach Billups, I mean they just came off a pause, and as a lot of people are finding out, when you hit those 10 or 14 day quarantines, it's amazing, especially the long break that a lot of these kids had from the last season into the summer. Those pauses can really affect your conditioning and then your rhythm, and so you could tell they're going to get their rhythm back, and they're going to get better. I mean, they got some good pieces. It's just a matter of just kind of getting their wind and their timing back. Davis.
Jeff, this is so much different this year because Wyoming's winning basketball games without Maldo and Thompson having to score 20 a night and being dependent on that. Is that balance? Is that what you expected coming into this year, to have different guys that can step up on different nights?
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of our team is that you have multiple guys that one can shoot the ball and one can score, and depending on how the other team wants to defend us, we're going to attack you certain ways. And if you want to try to switch everything with Thompson, well, we'll have a plan for that. If you want to try to start doubling Maldo on dribble downs, we'll have a plan for that. But eventually, when you have 5 good players on the floor, the other team's always going to have 1 or 2 guys that maybe don't defend as well, and we'll hunt those guys out, and the guys are starting to figure that out and finding those mismatches. A thing that we'll need to get better at as we move on is that initially with some of these teams defensively and they struggle to guard what we do, is that against the better teams, we're scoring a lot right now off our first action, and as we evolve, we're going to have to get better in terms of flowing into our second or third action, because we're not a team that's just going to come down and just run set plays. You can't win at the level we're at by coming down and running set plays from A to B. It's too easy to take you out of things. And so, the thing that hurt from not being able to do stuff in the summertime and not being able to play as much 5-on-5 as much as we'd like here in the fall and with practice, is that you have to kind of develop that feel and to develop that flow of how do you get to that second or third action without stalling, without that ball just stopping for 1 or 2 seconds too long, and now the defense is able to catch up. And so that's something that we're going to have to continue to work on. Cats.
Just my last thing is, Marcus was pretty open about saying that these last 2 non-conference games are going to be really important for you guys. How much emphasis are you guys going to put on these last 2 games? Are they just normal games heading into the conference slate? Do they hold more importance? Is it kind of going to be let's see where we're at heading into UNLV?
As Herm Edwards once said, you play to win the game. The next game is the biggest game. That's all our focus, and our focus really is on what we're going to do tomorrow to get better, and then we'll move on to the next day. But you got to win. You got to win Thursday and Friday if you're going to win Saturday. And at the end of the day, we haven't done. What have we done? For us to think that we can just show up and no. We better be. Anybody we play, there's better be a certain level of fear that we have in that opponent, a healthy fear, knowing that if we don't come out and we don't play the right way, which we saw here against Texas Southern, whether that was against Incarnate Word, and we're not good enough to show up. And so we're going to prepare our guys every day to get better, but knowing that in practice, in each possession that's where winning lies. It's not showing up to the game and hoping you're going to win. Hope isn't a strategy.